Welcome to a Top Employers podcast where we will be discussing ideas and perspectives for a better world of work. My name is Billy Elliott, your host for today, and I'm proud to serve as the Top Employers Institute's Regional Director for Asia Pacific, based out of beautiful Singapore. And with me today, we have Lilian, Head of Investor Relations and Sustainability, and Brenda, Chang, General Manager of HR at Keppel. A warm welcome to you, ladies. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you.
So today we're going to be discussing unique perspectives on the topic of sustainability with the aim of providing our listeners with a multifaceted view on sustainability in the workplace. The importance of this topic cannot be overstated, and as our world faces escalating environmental and social challenges, companies are finding that their roles extend beyond mere profit making. They now have a responsibility towards ensuring a sustainable future, and obviously HR plays a pivotal role in driving this transformation from within. Integrating sustainability into the workplace not only reflects a global commitment to well-being, but it also helps attract forward-thinking talent that obviously fosters a culture of purpose and responsibility. By discussing this topic, we aim to spotlight the essential synergy between HR and sustainability by exploring actionable steps that businesses can take to become more resilient and future-proof. So ladies, let's get into the discussion. And my first question is, many of our listeners are very keen to understand industry-leading approaches to sustainability. So could you share with us what guides Keppel's vision and strategy towards sustainability?
Again, thank you for having us here today. So Keppel is guided by our Vision 2030, and we have embarked on our transformation from a conglomerate into a global alternative asset manager with deep operating capabilities. And after the successful divestment of our offshore and marine business in February this year, we have already started to reorganize ourselves as one company with three platforms: the fund management, investment, and operating platforms, all integrated into one business with the aim of creating and also investing in solutions for a more sustainable world. And I guess in doing so, our approach to sustainability is really supported by our three pillars of environmental stewardship, responsible business, and also people and community. So under environmental stewardship, we of course address areas such as climate action and environmental management. And within this, we are of course working towards lowering our carbon footprint. Keppel has committed to halving our Scope 1 and Scope 2 carbon emissions from base year of 2020. And also, looking at a commitment of net zero by 2050. So under the responsible business pillar, of course, we are looking at areas such as corporate governance and risk management. And in terms of people and community, that's where we look at setting targets, setting policies in the areas of human capital management, health and safety, and also community development.
Unbelievable. So, I mean, obviously, as we all know, Keppel is a very, very diverse organization. And how difficult was that alignment and integration into one Keppel, especially from an ESG point of view?
I guess it's not difficult in that I think this journey of integrating ESG into the business is not new. Mm-hmm. It's always been, the heart of how we do business, and now we are also in the business of creating sustainable solutions. Mm-hmm. So I think I don't think it's something that's new to our colleagues. Yeah, it's just organizing ourselves into the different platforms and executing, I guess, with clearer directions in terms of which are the areas and asset classes that we want to be in, and continue supporting, these critical areas which are important to the purpose of creating a more sustainable world.
Yeah, I suppose it really makes sense now that you've got this one harmonized approach to ESG. Super. So how has Keppel's business transformed given the strong drive towards sustainability?
The transformation is really in terms of looking at as an asset manager and an operator. We want to not just grow the business, but as I mentioned, contribute to a more sustainable world. And to drive this growth, we have articulated, a higher, or rather, scale up our funds under management to $200 billion by 2030. That's the target. And we're in asset classes, we're investing in asset classes that are strong preference for investors across areas such as prime real estate to infrastructure, and in terms of in value add to core asset classes. In terms of the how we perform these investments, we have publicly traded platforms. We also have a very strong private fund platform. So within these platforms, we invest in a wide spectrum of infrastructure, real estate, and also connectivity assets. In terms of infrastructure, I think we've been in the business of providing clean water and a clean environment to the community. We are also in the business of providing clean energy solutions, and we'll continue to innovate in these areas. In terms of real estate, I think we've got a strong track record in green developments, and we'll leverage on this to provide, a suite of solutions for sustainable urban renewal for the real estate industry. And in terms of connectivity, we are well placed to work with partners in the areas of developing best-in-class data centers, subsea cables, and other solutions to support, I think the social and also economic aspirations, that's really built on increased connectivity in today's world.
So it's really almost a huge part of your business, right? It's a pillar. It's a heartbeat. It's very much entrenched in your organization.
That's right. That's why I say, we have very deep capabilities in these what would be seen as critical sectors to support, more sustainable solutions.
Fantastic. So shifting the focus towards HR, how has HR's role evolved, and what is HR's role in ESG within Keppel?
That's, I guess HR, because businesses have been evolving, and as a result of that, HR has had to evolve. I think today businesses, we operate in a very challenging environment. I think you look at the world around us, whether from a political standpoint or technological, or even just pure cost pressures. It's put a lot of pressure on business. So with that, how do businesses win, in this environment? Largely, whatever business that you're in, it needs to be focused on the talent that you have. Yeah. Because the talent is the one that drives the success factors. And then you take a step back. Everybody then is looking at the best talent. And how do you attract this talent and retain the talent? I think in the last pandemic, everybody heard about this war for talent, right? People are sort of burnt out, leaving organizations, etc. So how do you then entice talent to come work for you and provide the environment that's conducive for this talent pool to grow and, to flourish? So many people are talking about well-being today. We're not looking at well-being just one component, but holistically, right? So at Keppel, what we look at is it's an employee sort of full well-being, not just emotional or mental. There's a lot of spotlight that's in today, but we also look at the physical component, the intellectual, career, safety. Safety, not only from a physical safety. Obviously, we put a lot of importance because Keppel does a lot of development, but we're also looking at psychological safety. And that has been sort of focused in the last few years. So these are all the components that sort of look at from the whole well-being of the employee.
I think well-being has become such an important part of a company's HR strategy, right? And I think companies, they have to have a total well-being approach, because what I need from a well-being perspective as an individual is very different, from what you would potentially require. So it's good that, organizations cover all aspects of HR. And it's great to hear that that's something that Keppel focuses on.
In a large part, I think we've sort of been in the last few years, really, I guess even it started before pandemic. We had this strategy of looking at, we call it the 7 dimensions of well-being. Okay. And we've been having programs that focus on each. For example, we have a month that we say is the financial well-being month. Right. And we bring in external speakers to talk about that. So that because we're looking at an employee holistically now, right? Because employees are spending so much time at work. So we've also had to sort of educate and bring alongside, certain aspects of it.
I mean, at the end of the day, your employees are your internal customers. And we've also noticed a shift that, organizations are moving away from the term people-centric.
Right.
And it's becoming more about person-centric.
Right.
So me as the individual. So it's great to hear that Keppel is on top of that.
Yeah.
Super. So now that we understand Keppel's sustainability framework, could you take us through some of the ideas or steps that you've implemented to make sustainability relevant and applicable to your work?
Yeah.
So I think because, sustainability is so much in Keppel's DNA.
Yeah.
Because we're providing solutions, right? Whether, as Lilian mentioned, treating water or looking at converting waste to energy. And, because of that, we also have a foundation. We call it Keppel Care Foundation. It was established since 2012. And it contributes, I think, to date, probably over $50 million, in where, and the focus, it's three-pronged. We're looking at the underprivileged. We're looking also at the environment.
Right.
And what's the last component?
Education.
So these are the areas. So how do we focus? For example, environment. We are committed to planting. Singapore has a movement of planting 1 million trees.
Yeah.
And so we have committed. And last year, I think 2022, we planted like over 3,000 trees. And so our employees get involved. And it's actually pretty fun because we all go down, we spend a few hours and we're planting, and you get to learn about the environment through planting trees.
Brilliant.
For example, we were part of this Labrador Park because it's quite near our office. And, we are talking about planting coastal trees, to shield off, right, the elements. So some of these are the other aspect, not only in Singapore, in Vietnam, we're also treating water. We're committed to providing clean water to 20,000 sort of villages in Vietnam. So these are all, even, Singapore is an aging population. So Keppel Care Foundation is donating $1 million over 3 years for this aspect, right? Because we know it puts a lot of pressure on caregivers, as well as the people within the family that you have, they are taking care of someone with dementia. Or on the health aspect, we're looking also at, I think we donated like $2 million to build this new dialysis center for the National Kidney Foundation. So these are some elements, and how sort of different divisions within Keppel, we all have an adopted charity. So for fund management investment, we've been partnering with the Muscular Dystrophy Association of Singapore for the last 6 years or so. So we sit down with them and we plan our activities. So we've also gotten our team, the staff has gotten to know the beneficiaries and their families, and it becomes sort of really fun every time we meet with them. You see how they progress. And sometimes, unfortunately, how the condition also has deteriorated. So but you get to know them at a very personal level. So because we've been with them for that long. So, or it could be sort of the infrastructure division, they are working, I think, with Willing Hearts, producing. So a lot of the employees find a lot of meaning. And when they go and they participate in a lot of the events, they come back feeling very blessed, very fortunate and full of gratitude, because you see an aspect of outside of work that I think provides them with a lot of meaning into what they do. Because a lot of us we don't just want to be at work. We also want to feel that we contribute a large part to giving back to society.
Absolutely. I mean, I've only been in Singapore for a year, and I am aware that those are some of the prominent challenges in Singapore, and it's fantastic to hear that Keppel's got behind it and turn those into some of the sort of sustainability initiatives that you support as an organization. So that's great to hear. Especially that personal connection that you're making with the different institutions that you're supporting. So great job. My next question is, obviously Keppel Capital has proudly aligned itself with global frameworks, as we all know, including the United Nations Global Compact, the UN-supported Principles for Responsible Investment, and the CDP capital markets. So how do you think investment entities like yourself can help drive meaningful action towards global goals for environmental impact?
So I guess sustainability or ESG has become really mainstream for financial market participants, not just from the fact that regulators are requiring more disclosures, but investors are very interested in your strategies with regards to sustainability as well. And as asset managers or as investment managers, we really need to incorporate ESG considerations in our investment management and decisions. How do we do this then? I think very importantly, we need to start in terms of thinking of how do you set up your ESG governance structures. I think that's a good place to start. And of course, from the environment side, it's very important now, right, to think about your decarbonization strategies. So with those, then of course, you need to have clear targets, and more importantly, track progress against targets. And in terms of thinking further into the future, it will be good to start looking at doing scenario analysis to see how climate change will impact. It's not just, or rather, it doesn't only just bring risks. There are also opportunities for the business as well. If you think through what should your strategies be, where there's impact from climate change. So that's a good step to take as well. And of course, having done everything, you need to be able to communicate, what you've done, why you've measured, what you've measured to investors. So enhancing disclosures is important. And perhaps, looking at what would be the most relevant way of communicating with your investors, or fulfilling the requirements of regulators, picking a reporting framework that's relevant, like the recommendations from the Task Force for Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, for example. So yeah, these are the steps that I guess you can take.
And can you share just a couple of examples of some of the key metrics that you use to measure the success of your ESG strategy, if you wouldn't mind?
Yeah. So if we go back to what I mentioned about the three pillars, right, that we are sort of measuring ourselves against. For environment part, as I mentioned, there's the carbon emissions reduction targets. In terms of governance, in terms of responsible business on the governance front, of course, we ensure that we measure ourselves against the highest standards of in terms of regulatory requirements, and also of course internal policies as well. And in terms of people and community, I think Brenda has just described many of the community activities that we undertake. We set ourselves volunteer hour targets and engagement targets on that front as well. Employee engagement targets as well. So those are some of the metrics and that we measure ourselves against.
And I'm sure those metrics are getting comfortably surpassed every single year with this very strong strategy that you have in place, no doubt. So I'm glad that you mentioned employee engagement, because that actually links quite nicely to the next question that I'm going to ask. How do you engage employees to actually actively participate in these ESG initiatives?
I think a lot of times we also want to find out what employees are interested in.
Yeah.
And so, on a yearly basis, we have different ways of sort of listening in. Obviously, the more formal one will be a full engagement survey that we undertake on a yearly basis. The other avenues that we have, coffee sessions, tea sessions, town halls. These are different avenues of sort of hearing from the employee what they want to participate in. And it pretty much aligns as well with the group when we're talking about whether, looking at the underprivileged or looking at the environment or education. So these are aspects that, why did we rest on these three pillars? It's because employees told them that these are the areas that they care very much about. So after listening in with sort of as the Keppel as a whole, really put our focus into these three areas. So whether it's community hours or is it giving through Keppel Care Foundation, it's narrowed down to these three areas because employees told us that that's where they're most passionate about.
And I love that approach, right? Because it sounds like it's very much bottom-up driven. And I guess that also makes it easier if you're asking your employees for input around what they want to participate in, what they want to support. It so much, it basically drives buy-in and participation, right? Which is quite often the challenge.
And I think it's also toned from the top a lot of times, right? Because, while, giving money is one thing, but it's also how does leadership sort of align and as well support a lot of this initiative. Yeah. So, for example, we give 2 days of volunteer leave because, we want employees to be able to take time away from work and really get involved, because it's only when you get involved then you understand the issues, you appreciate at a deeper level, and they get very excited. Sometimes we use it as a team bonding, that we have the whole team go and support, and through it that it achieves like two objectives. One is sort of letting people see what the issues are, but also at the same time working as a team to adopt some of these causes. I think it's quite powerful.
I mean, obviously financial contribution is important, don't get me wrong, but I feel giving time is sometimes priceless.
So for us, we feel that we need both. And it's not just, companies giving financial support, but it's also the time commitment of the employees to take time to participate. We think that that's really powerful to drive, a lot of these awareness and interest and, in these areas.
And are you seeing good participation in the different initiatives as a result of this?
I think last year we had like 14,000 hours.
Brilliant.
As a group.
And if I heard you correctly, every employee in the company gets two volunteer days off per year. That's brilliant. Nice initiative. Cool. So staying on the topic of employees, and in today's day and age, we see employees seek to work for purpose-driven companies, right? That is a big factor for any organization's EVP. So how does your organization ensure that it's not just riding the social responsibility wave, but truly making impactful waves in the community? And once again, can you just share a couple more examples around what's being done at Keppel?
I think we recognize, employees in particular wanting to be involved in the greater good rather than just work alone. So, purpose, it's a very big thing these days to every employee that walks through your door. They want to know sort of whatever that they do, the purpose behind it. So we spend quite significant amount of time. Our CEO, Christina, does quite a bit during the town halls to talk about the area, right, on purpose. And we also have a dedicated, we call it ministries, just for a fun term. A lot of companies call it committees, but for us, we call it ministry. So Lilian chairs the Ministry of Tomorrow. What it means is that a lot of times we plan out sort of on a calendar basis what we intend to do, and we communicate through town halls what's the game plan for the year. And so, the team then are able to plan out, which events I want to participate in or volunteer in for the year. So it could be sort of, bringing the beneficiaries from the Muscular Dystrophy Association of Singapore for different sort of outings. It could be planting trees. It could be cleaning up the beach. Some of these, or recycling, collecting old books and all that. Some of these are the activities that we encourage people to sort of take part.
Yeah, we also try to build in an educational element as well. So we've gotten our colleagues to visit like the Lee Kong Chian Natural History Museum, because I think that's some background in terms of understanding sustainability in the Singapore context, for example. So it is quite a broad range of activities that we try to do. It's not just volunteerism, not just engagement. Actually, a lot of times it's not just external engagement when we have our volunteer activities, because some of these activities do take time to plan. So it's also engagement within the organization as well, and team members get to interact with colleagues from other departments and divisions and work together and get to know more of each other.
Yeah, I was going to say that cross-functional connection is also
right.
priceless, right? The fact
Yeah.
that you can engage with someone in finance or marketing.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
So in a lot of all our different ministries, we have different people from sort of different departments walking across. And that's also how you get to build your social network. So for us, it's getting to know more people outside your department. That is one way.
I love the word ministries. You only ever hear about committee, so I think that's a really beautiful phrase that you guys have coined there.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's a fun way for us. So we have different ministries.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lovely. Next question. Do you find that employees, especially the younger generation, are more inclined to join a company that prioritizes sustainability? And do you believe that ESG plays a pivotal role in talent attraction?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think we're starting to see. We do a lot of sort of internships. We have management associates. We also have young, people of different generations join us. And it is one aspect, a lot of times when we do tea sessions with them, they tell us that, hey, it's something that attracted them to Keppel because of our huge sustainability angle. It resonates with them. So definitely I would say, because I think when you look at what it's in evidence that we're living through, whether from a climate perspective, increasingly more and more awareness it's being put with social media, with what you're reading in the news, etc., or even just the environment that they're living in, gives you that level of awareness. And to the people that are coming to the workforce, or those that are, really I won't say just that it's young. I think it
agree.
impacts sort of everybody.
Every generation.
Yeah. So I don't think it's just because it's a young, they're passionate about it. I think it's every person today that's a heightened awareness, and they want to join a company that provides that solution. So it's not just about making profit anymore, but it's about what else can you do to solve some of these world's issues and problems.
I mean, talent across the board, they want to be able to work for an organization that is giving back to society, and it makes them feel good about themselves, right? And it's if organizations don't have such a strong platform, then there's no doubt that they will lose out to top talent. So it's great to see that Keppel are using that as a mechanism to attract the best talent to your organization. And I suppose your recruiters and your hiring managers are probably also trained and educated to talk about purpose, right, in these recruitment discussions.
Yeah. We do quite a bit of that. I mean, we do it, as I said, in our town halls, in our discussions with supervisors. And I think they also recognize that, increasingly, people want to find meaning in their work. It's no longer just a paycheck. Obviously, that's important. But, with so much competition for talent out there today, it has to be beyond that.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the. So you wanted to.
Yeah, I think Keppel is again, well placed in this because, as I mentioned before, we are not just investing in, but we are also creating solutions for a more sustainable world. So I don't think many companies are in the creating part. Investing in, I guess, as a financial investor, you can find many of those. But because of the capabilities that we have, I think, our colleagues can see that, yes, we're investing in renewable energy. We're ensuring that we're building greener buildings and so on and so forth. So I think that's an important part for them as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. Nice addition. Thank you. So my final question today is directed at both of you. And I'm going to ask you to look into your crystal balls and to predict the future. So let's say fast forward to 2030 in a world where HR might be scheduling meetings with AI assistants and virtual reality team building sessions. In fact, I think these things are already happening, right? There's no two ways about it. So how do you see sustainability evolving in the futuristic HR landscape?
I would say that it will take an increasing bigger and bigger part within HR. And because I think, already we're talking about, climate, right? So when we're looking at from an HR angle, more and more companies need to be able to articulate, right, their position and also take some level of action with employees wanting to also what we are doing today, I think it's just going to increase. I don't think it's going to go away, but it will just be a bigger and bigger part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super. And your prediction for the future in ESG?
Well, definitely it's going to become more important. And I guess it will get to the level where it's just the norm.
Yeah.
I think that's where we should be headed. because it shouldn't be thought of as something that's extra that we're doing. I think it should be part and parcel of what we're doing in our daily lives, and also for corporates, to look at how they can be incorporating more sustainable practices into the way that they function as well.
I agree. I mean, this is part of an organization's DNA, and it's here to stay. And as you say, it's only going to become more important in the future.
That's right.
Awesome. So a big thanks to you both for sharing such brilliant insights, and also for the transparency in, sharing some of the great practices that you have at Keppel around your sustainability strategy. Really, really interesting. So appreciate your valuable time today, and hope that we can continue this discussion in the future.
Certainly. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
inviting us.
If you like this episode, please be sure to reach out to us on our other social media channels. Please be sure to share the episode, tag a colleague, and do subscribe to our channel for more content like this. All the details are down in the description below. Let's stay connected, and let's all remain committed to creating a better world of work. Take care, and goodbye for now.